Welcome to Java, and thank you kindly for joining me. It's July 18th, 2025, and it is also Friday going into this weekend. Now, question for you right now, with everything going on, are you saving or are you investing? We've got an options expiry for the traders today, so looking forward to a bit of volatility, particularly the final hour of trading today. And as we go into this weekend, I'm going to be wishing you all a wonderful one, hopefully a break away from all of this, because there's quite a bit going on. So, as always, let's get started with the markets. Now, fear greed meter, we always start with the sentiment of kind of what the feel is. We're in extreme greed territory. So, on the numbers that came out yesterday, the markets did go green, went a little bit stronger, went against what the futures were saying, as the jobs numbers looked really good, at least for the reports they put out. Not what they were expecting, so no concern there as far as what the reports were seeing. We also had the spending numbers coming out, so retail sales really strong. So, with this, our daily driver, I still expect a little more volatility, particularly toward the final hour of the day. It is that options expiry. So, with this, we've got Waller, who is a Fed governor. He is saying the job market is weaker than it looks and that the Fed should look at cutting not September, but July very rapidly. Now, he is also possibly up for the job of the Fed chair next, and also the one, not necessarily my pick, but a pick I believe that is the top runner in my opinion. So, again, options expiry Friday. The retail sales rebound in June. They're very jubilant about this. So they're buoyed by consumer spending resilience, is what they're saying. They're not addressing at all front loading because of the expected increase in inflation coming down the road, or the tariffs themselves having an effect on what is going on with our spenders. So this is where the question comes in. When you have a fiat dollar that you know is losing value, do you save it? Do you spend it? Do you invest it? And when you invest it, where do you put it? That's the major question. So, taking a look at the futures in the stock, all green, including gold and silver. So, what this is a flooding rush out of fiat dollars and into other assets. So, volatility index down by the dip, doesn't matter what it is, cryptocurrencies up. We also did have the legislation for the United States advanced. I'll speak about that in a moment. We've got the relative strength of the dollar is down. So, money flowing into higher risk assets, as well as the 10-year yield is also down slightly, not much. So, this is it really shouldn't, it really it's flat. So, as far as this morning right now. So, to speak about the crypto legislation, there was a delay at first between the Genius and the Clarity Act. So they passed the Genius Act. It is expected to be signed into law today, Friday, and the Clarity Law is going to head towards the Senate. So very likely there will be more changes for that. So a little bit ironic. You put in the act first and then you get clarity later. So do you think they did that on purpose? So I've got a quick short on central bank digital currencies in a moment, but we're going to talk about the calendar, housing starts and building permits. Housing is hurting in the United States. Also, other areas such as the UK, China, and Japan are all having issues, and Australia. We'll talk about that in a bit. But right now, the concern is Bank of Japan. Now, Besant is over there at the moment talking about making a trade deal, and they're saying that they may offer a less gloomy view of the tariff hit in the report. So it's awful, but maybe they're going to make it sound better, and somehow that's going to help. So they're in a serious uh, issue at the moment. They've got their elections going on, and they're going to see if there's some way that they can kind of get a little bit of a boost from the sentiment through this trade speak. So don't be shocked if they come out similar to what they did with the UK, and say, well, we've got a great deal with Japan, and we're going to be either dropping the tariffs or something that will give their economy a boost, because they really are hurting. And they could, in effect, if they had to, forced into a corner, kind of hit the stock market back through the treasuries. Now we've got the EU putting fresh sanctions on Russia. Now, aiming at the banking and energy. So Russia has been stocking precious metals. They've got backing for their currency now. And the EU is heavily dependent on them for the energy. So I just want to see how this is going to work out for them, because I don't think it's necessarily going to be effective. But at the same time, Russia is very happy about it, because that means that they can sell the EU energy and their oil at a much higher price. So we've got China's rare earth metal exports soaring. They did put a lockdown on battery technology because they're trying to still compete in the electric space. That lawsuit yesterday that I spoke about for Meta, well, they just decided to settle before they even had to testify and throw out $8 billion. So wouldn't that be nice to have a spare $8 billion to just throw at somebody so you don't even have to testify? So we've got market rates in the United States nearing 7%, and the delistings are still surging. So we'll see how these numbers come out this morning. So as I was saying, these are the bills that came out. We've got a company called Talon Energy. Now, they had earnings coming out, and they mentioned the magic word of AI, and that they will be powering some of the data centers. So as soon as they said this, their stocks are up. Now we've got MasterCard, JP Morgan Chase, Citi, and Bank of America. They're sharing stablecoin plans. They've already had these in the works. They knew these laws were the legislation was going to be coming through. So look at these being the front runners of making these stable coins, putting them out to the public, and being the benefactors of this Cantillon effect. MasterCard, JP Morgan, Citi, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo left out in the dirt. So I still think Wells Fargo will be the first one to fail, but we'll see. Now, this is hitting the real economy. Car makers face uncertainty as tariffs and earnings collide. Now, in specific, this is a different story, but it's Porsche. They're planning more cost cuts to counter what is going on with this. So, Porsche, the first one, but we also know that Stellantis, as well as Ford, and the others are facing this hit. So, cutting costs, that's going to mean less jobs, in short. Back to cryptocurrencies. A dominant Bitcoin whale. Who are we talking about now? BlackRock. They now hold $85.47 billion in Bitcoin. And in percentages, they now hold 3.6% of the current circulating supply. Thankfully, and we had a bit of this in discussion, Bitcoin is a proof of work, not proof of stake. And what that means is that BlackRock cannot come in here as major holder and start making the decisions for what happens with the chain, unlike some of the others. We've also got Ethereum and XRP, and what is going on with this now. Ethereum is kind of riding the tokenization wave, because they are the main one for that, Ethereum and Solana, and then XRP, because it's one of the mains on these coins. So we've got, and I'm just going to, and that's very simple, but I'll leave it at that. We've got Trump is ready to open United States retirement accounts to crypto investments. If this goes through, there will be a massive flood into these, because that would be the automatic approval for all of these funds to directly purchase these assets to put into people's accounts. So Bitcoin came up with the golden cross. There are some massive boosting mechanisms here. Could they all fail? Yes, but at the moment, it looks like green markets. It looks like green for all of the cryptocurrencies, well, most of the cryptocurrencies. And this could very well be the Meltup, because it's going to happen very rapidly. We've also got this is back to Australia, and this is saying they've got their housing crisis. So what they're doing is offering Bitcoin backed mortgages. So I find this very interesting. And if you're down there, I know a couple of you from down there listen to this. Let me know if you would either write it in the comments, or if you've seen anything about this down there directly. It would be good to know. A couple of other things. This is off the market, but things that I think are very important to be aware of now. First off, we are in a war economy, so I'm going to skip over to this one. This capital management company is expanding operations into the Philippines. And the interesting part is the location of this. It's a United States former naval base, and now they are looking at this as a regional ammunition production hub. Now, think about why they would put a regional ammunition production hub so far away from the areas where they are considered hot right now, namely Ukraine, Russia, and some of the others. So all the Middle East, but this is going into the Philippines, just to have you kind of think about these things. We've got the UK signing treaty on defence, trade, and migration with Germany. So Merz and Starmer signing this agreement. Now, this is very interesting because Germany now has taken all of the production for Europe, well, the bulk of production for ammunition as well. And the UK definitely needs a little bit of help there because they're, in short, under threat. So we've got a little bit of a different side. Million veterans that gave their DNA to aid health research. Now they're saying scientists worry the data will be wasted. I'm more concerned about how that data is going to be used, because you can never change your data. It is now used that some of the drones use data specific in order to identify and mark their targets. And with this, rolls into this. There was a massive Afghan data leak. I don't know if anyone heard about this. I don't know if it's in the mainstream media. I don't believe it is. But there were a large number of British spies and special forces, not just for the British, but also for the United States, as well as a couple of others exposed in this data leak. So having these and being able to be targeted, you could never live the rest of your life. You always have to be very aware of what's going on. There have been a couple of incidents recently where this has kind of been proven to be something in the works. So along these lines, we've got the administration granting ICE. So this is the immigration access to 79 million Medicaid records. So these are medical records for, in short, a lot of those that are on public assistance. And the California Attorney General is calling it an unprecedented privacy breach. But the problem is, once they've got that information, they've got it. So at any time, if you ever give in your identification to any entity, in short, it can always be turned over to the government, legally, illegally, without your consent, and then they'll worry about the consequences of this later. So, just urging a little bit of caution on some of these things, and I bring these up so that you're aware of these ahead of time. I know it sounds a little tinfoil, but as it were, I wish you all a wonderful weekend, and until I see you again, my friends, stay free.